This is the most slender building in the world. I'm in Manhattan, New York, and this is the most slender building in the world. I saw it on YouTube many videos, and the iconic thing is it's on top of the Steinway building. Steinway is a world famous maker of pianos, probably the leader in the piano because I love operas and so on. This is Steinway, and this is what is known as the Billionaire Street. There are other slender buildings also in the street. So these are very standard because each building actually sways a few centimeters and then they use water adapters and so on. So this is iconic Billionaires Row and yeah, this is the famous, the most slender building in the world if I'm right. And yeah, that's the Steinway building. I'm in Manhattan, New York, and you see this is called the Billionaires Row where rich people live. And this is one of the most slender buildings in the whole world. Like they're so thin, in the wind they sway, and but they use a system. And this is the iconic Steinway building. It's most slender building in the whole world, as I heard. And this is on top of the Steinway, which is a piano maker. And this is called the Billionaire's Row. And the other iconic, beautiful buildings, right? Like you see the old European classical buildings. You know, then there is that the Louis Vuitton, suitcase type thing. And this is iconic Billionaire's Row, the richest street in the world, probably. The Louis Vuitton suitcase building. It's very iconic. The suitcase is stacked on the top of each other. So it's a big Louis Vuitton store, probably. And this is the Billionaires Row in Manhattan. Okay. I'm in Manhattan, New York, and Manhattan is famous for all the skyscrapers and, some of the beautiful buildings like this. It's really amazing. Both a mixture of, modern glass and, old European style. And this is the iconic, Carnegie Hall. I've been longing to see this for a long time. Today I'm finally here. So the really building is so spectacular and beautiful. And I believe this, if I'm right, this is called the Billionaires Row, right? Billionaires Row with this tall, slender buildings here. This one, very tall, slender. That one, and there is one more. One is called the Steinway building. So I'm right now in front of the Carnegie Hall. Iconic Manhattan, yeah, the greatest place on earth. I'm in Manhattan, New York City, one of the highest buildings. And this is the iconic, the Carnegie Hall. You can see the building is really, really very beautiful. This is iconic Carnegie Hall. So yeah, these are all Manhattan high-rise districts. As we know, New York has been built for more than 100 years before by, many of these rich people like Carnegie, Rockefeller, and all these people, right? They took different areas like, energy, banking, and, all this stuff. And this is the iconic Carnegie Hall. I'm just going to visit this. So yeah, and this is Manhattan, one of the most iconic places on the planet. I'm on top of the iconic Empire State Building, which was built in 1930-31. It was just built in 1 year, 45 days. That was an iconic thing, and we all remember the iconic, people hanging and, taking their lunch and meal. And behind me, we see the iconic Manhattan and the One World Trade Tower. Luckily, we could also see it's a clear day, so the Statue of Liberty, the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge on this side. It's a big lighting around, and this is the iconic New York Manhattan skyline. This is the basis for other Manhattans around, Singapore, Korea, Japan, China, everywhere. The Manhattan style building. So this is the iconic Empire State Building in New York, Manhattan area in New York, and behind me you see the kind of the north side of Manhattan, and the JP Morgan buildings, the East River, the United Nations building. This side is the Hudson River. A spectacular Manhattan style, and this height is about 380 meters, and then the total tower is 443 meters. So Empire State Building is an iconic building they built within just 1 year, 45 days. So in 1930-31 during the Great Depression times, and the iconic people hanging and the maids taking the maids and so on. So this is the iconic Manhattan, and this is the basis for other, high-rise districts around the world, be it Singapore, Korea, Japan, China, Japan. So this is the iconic Empire State. I'm in New York, Manhattan, New York, and this is the iconic Empire State Building, and this is between the Hudson River and New Jersey on the other side, and the East River on this side, and that's the kind of
Oh, I'm sorry.
this we are able to see the Statue of Liberty, the world, One World Observatory Tower, and then the iconic Brooklyn bridges, and the Manhattan Bridge, and then there's the United Nations, and this is the south side of Manhattan, and iconic Manhattan with these huge tall buildings. Right, and this building itself is 380 meters long and 443 meters. We are in the open space. It's really chilly, very cold, but spectacular Manhattan and New York. Yeah, this is Manhattan, New York, and this is the Hudson Yards development. It was developed over railroad tracks, and it's really spectacular. And top of the Empire State Building, it's about 380 meters and 442 meters to the top. And this is exactly Manhattan on the where you see the Hudson River in New Jersey, and that side is there's a JP Morgan building. They built it with $3 billion. And in Manhattan, what happens is they buy the air rights of the adjacent buildings, and so one building will be super tall, and then the remaining buildings cannot build for life. So this is a spectacular Manhattan, and that side is the One World Observatory. Statue of Liberty is almost appearing. It's just walking around. This is a spectacular Manhattan.
Yes.
Oh. I'm in the Grand Central Terminal Station in New York. This is one of the most spectacular stations in the whole world. And this is, part of the Manhattan. And here we see the iconic clock. Guy was telling that people say that they will meet at the clock. So this clock, he said we sync it to the atomic clock, which means it's exactly precision. And then, that is, we used to do software for aviation. So aviation is, the precision, the atomic clocks, they are synced to the atomic clocks. Even a nanosecond makes a, distance of kilometers. So this is the spectacular Grand Central Terminal. Spectacular building. I've been longing to see this for many years. So spectacular Grand Central Terminal in the spectacular Manhattan in New York.
Very good.
This is the Hudson River beside me. There is a cruise that goes around the Manhattan showing all the spectacular sights. And this is like, the new Hudson Yards development. It's a very new development. They developed it with 25-30 billion of money. And the spectacular part is they developed it on a actual running railroad track section. So it's really spectacular. There is a vessel kind of, stuff. And this is a spectacular, the Manhattan and the Manhattan skyline. And everywhere you see are the high-rise buildings. That is the billionaire row with the slender buildings. There are 3 slender buildings like the Steinway building and so on. So this is spectacular part of the world. That's Manhattan, New York. Hudson Yards development, and this is called the Edge. And you see, when you look down, it's like, it's like the vehicles are looking like small ants and creatures. And then this is very, very scary bit. And then that side is the Statue of Liberty, the One World Trade Tower, which is 76 feet, the year of American independence. And this is like, the edge, and that's the building. And if you come this side, then you have the Empire State Building, the East River, the JP Morgan building, the billionaire show with the slender buildings. That's the most slender building. And this is the Hudson River and the George Washington Bridge, the most busiest bridge in the United States. And they are just, this is like, the bridge. I'm sitting on the ledge, so when you look down, it's like scary. This is Manhattan in New York, and this is the famous vessel, in the Hudson Yards development. They opened the vessel, it goes in a maze fashion. They opened and closed it a few times because, people were committing suicides. And then, that's the reason each time they increase the security and, kept security guards, etc. And this is, the tall buildings are, parts of the Hudson Yards development. All these tall buildings. Hudson Yards, the important thing is it's a $35 billion investment, and they build the Hudson Yards about the railroad tracks, about the live active railroad tracks. So that's like, very spectacular lightings and, during the Christmas time, right? Lights and, a lot of lights. And this is, the vessel, the iconic vessel in between the Hudson Yards. We had a tour of the Hudson Yards, and the tour guide was telling a lot of stories about each of those buildings, how spectacularly they were built, what are the, financial and other implications behind each of those buildings, and the spectacular lights. And it's really so beautiful and amazing. This is Hudson Yards in Manhattan, New York. Manhattan, New York, and this is the iconic, the pier, and this is the East River, and that's like the helicopter, and then that's a famous Brooklyn Bridge, and behind that is the Manhattan Bridge and the Williamsburg Bridge. And this is, we are nearly at the tip of Manhattan Island. And these are all the tall buildings, and Wall Street is just lurking around. So it's just lurking around. So this is the South Financial District, and this is Manhattan, one of the most iconic places in the whole world. The helicopter tour, and you get the spectacular Manhattan view. This is water. I mean, in summer it will be like super. Yeah, that's the Staten Island ferries, and it's called the Battery, and that's the World Trade Tower. Yeah, that's the World Trade Tower.
Got it. Yeah.
This is Manhattan, the southernmost tip of Manhattan, and there we see the World Trade Center Tower. I had been on the tower, and these are all, the iconic Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge, and then there is a Williamsburg Bridge, and this is the downtown, skyport where helicopters fly and do, and this is the East River. And this is the all the high-rise buildings, the iconic Manhattan, one and only, most iconic place to. This is the iconic Manhattan, and this is the iconic St. Patrick's Cathedral in the middle of Manhattan, and we see the high skyscrapers all around. So this is iconic Manhattan, and probably the greatest city in the world, New York. Okay, this is the iconic Manhattan, famous for the sky rises and all the sky rises, and this is the famous St. Patrick's Cathedral, spectacular cathedral, right? I mean, just been inside, and there was a mass from Guatemala. And this is all the skyscrapers in the Manhattan district. And the Manhattan is all famous for skyscrapers. That's the Rockefeller Center. The tower, Rockefeller Tower. There is the top of the rock observatory as well. That's the Radio City, famous for the Rocketeer show. Rocketeer show is about 100 years old from 1925. And they have more than 300 kicks and, the falling soldiers and all this stuff. So fantastic show again. So this is the iconic Manhattan and, all the high rises districts. And this is the St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Yeah.
This is the Metropolitan Opera in New York, or popularly called the Met. I love operas, ballets, Latin music, and salsa. And this is the place where spectacular operas are made. I mean, I watch them all through on the TV and Metropolitan the streaming. And I love operas. Operas mainly are from European languages like Italian, German, and so on. All the spectacular productions are really, really spectacular. I mean. I think it houses about 3,800 or something seats, and a spectacular opera house in the whole book. Okay, this is New York, and the famous Metropolitan Opera called the Met, popularly called the Met in New York, and it's a fantastic opera. I love operas, ballets, Latin music, and salsa. And this, I've been dreaming of seeing this for many years. And today was a showing of Puritani, a fantastic show by Vincenzo Bellini. And the show was really fantastic. This is the golden screen and the golden, the spectacular, the Metropolitan, which is this is New York. This is a famous Metropolitan Opera called the Met, actually popularly called the Met and favorably called the Met. And this is a spectacular. I love operas, ballets, Latin music, and salsa. And the one in London and New York are really the most spectacular productions of it. Today was showing of Vincenzo Bellini's Puritani. Show was spectacular. The sets were great. The lighting, sound, and all these things were great. So it's really, many years I've been dying to see this opera house. So it's a spectacular opera house. This is the Metropolitan Opera, popularly and favorably called the Met in New York. And today is a showing of Bellini's Puritani. And it's a fantastic opera house. I mean, the productions from the Met are I had seen them, most of the productions I have seen them on YouTube and, other, when they stream. The productions are fantastic. Especially I remember the Aida, with the everything they have come up. There will easily be 1,000 people on the stage for Aida in 2019. It's a spectacular Metro House. I've been dying to see this Metro House Met for, years, and today it has happened. Spectacular, absolutely. I'm in Manhattan, New York, and this is the iconic New York Stock Exchange. I studied international finance and business and wanted to be on the stock exchange, like a derivatives trader or a stock trader. And this is, the tagline is the world puts stock in us. Generally, stock exchange deals in, equities, debt instruments, and derivatives. Then there are also commodity exchanges, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Chicago Board of Trade. So this is this is the world's, we can call it as emperor of stock exchanges or, emperor of securities exchanges, because the turnover is in trillions, Nvidia crossed 4 trillion recently. So this is iconic, New York Stock Exchange, and, the biggest exchange in the world. Every country has its own exchanges generally, and every capital or, financial capital has one. And this is the emperor of stock exchange, the biggest stock exchange in the world. Top of a buggy, but this is on top of the World Trade Center Tower, which is 541 meters long and a spectacular view of the Manhattan area. Manhattan area of New York. Manhattan is a kind of a Long Island with the, Central Park and, all the high rises. And this is iconic, the World Trade Center Tower. There's a One World Trade Observatory. I've been on top of the tower. You get a spectacular view of, the Manhattan and all the, Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, and, Williamsburg Bridge, the, Statue of Liberty and all this. The symbolic height of this is 1776 feet, which is the year of American independence formation. Tragically, there were twin towers before. Those were destroyed by a terrorist attack, and then they rebuilt the tower, and it was done in 2012. And then, as I told you, the height is 1776 feet or 541 meters, representing the year of American independence. And this is the iconic Manhattan area with all the sky rises and, the financial district, the stock exchange where money is made and lost, and, the great American companies and so on. So this is one of the most iconic areas in the whole. I'm at the top of the One World Trade Center, and this is a spectacular Manhattan, and then the spectacular Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, and the Williamsburg Bridge, and spectacular Manhattan. That side is the Statue of Liberty, and then the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, and this side is all the Manhattan other towers, the Empire State Building. Yesterday I've been there. And, that side is Hudson River Garden. So this is Manhattan and sitting on top of the One World Trade Center, which is 541 meters long. In feet, it's 1776 feet, which is the year of formation of America. So symbolically, so on top of the world. Good. I'm right in Manhattan, America, and this is the World Trade Tower that was, tragically it was destroyed. There were two towers before, and then they built a new tower in place of that one. It's 1776 feet, 1776 being year where America was formed, and it's so 541 meters. It's really spectacular. I just had been through the observation deck, and this is, where the memorial for this, and where they had written the names of the people who tragically died in that attack, actually. And this is the the water splashes in the pool and so on. So this is the the memorial. It's called the 9/11 memorial.
Okay.
I'm in Manhattan, New York, and this is the famous Radio City, famous for the Rocketer show that has more than 300 kicks and the falling soldiers and so on. It has been 100 years since the show is on. This is a spectacular, the Manhattan, all the high-rise buildings in Manhattan. One of the most iconic spaces in the whole world. Falling soldiers and all those stuff. So it usually plays for about 6 weeks. Other than that, this is an iconic place of the world, one of the greatest entertainment venues in the whole world, almost a century old. So this is Radio City, the iconic Radio City in Manhattan, New York. In New York, and the spectacular, probably the largest auditorium in the world and the best venue. They are celebrating the 100 years of Rocketters. Rocketters is a very musical program with with more than 300 kicks and the falling soldiers and all those stuff. It was lucky to to actually meet one of the dancers and to have interactions with them. So it was spectacular. This is Radio City. Yeah, it is the iconic Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, New York, and you see the big building, and then there is a top of the rock observatory that's like the top of the rock. And this is the iconic Christmas tree and the great culture. People are skating here. And this is again the Saks and the Fifth Avenue. This is the Saks Fifth Avenue, and this fountains, waterfalls, and so on. So this whole thing is called the Rockefeller Center. Famous Rockefeller Center. There is an observatory on top of the Rockefeller Center, and then there is the iconic Christmas tree. And then you have small garden kind of thing, and luxury shops. And then this is the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York, and this is the famous Fifth Avenue, and this is the Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, and this is the Fifth Avenue. So, and then there are a lot of these buildings. The J.P. Morgan building, they recently, made it for $3 billion. And they buy the air rights about the buildings, and so this is iconic Manhattan and New York. Yes, I'm in the iconic Manhattan district of New York with all the skyscrapers, and this is the Rockefeller Tower and the Rockefeller Center. This whole thing is a Rockefeller Center. There are a lot of stuff, but then this is the St. Patrick's Cathedral, and this is the iconic Saks Fifth Avenue shop. Iconic, rich man's rich people buy stuff here. So I just been through the shop. So this is the sort of this is the iconic Manhattan skyline. Most iconic part of the world, all high rises and spectacular buildings, and most iconic, and that's the Christmas tree, the famous iconic Christmas tree, Rockefeller Center. Iconic Manhattan, iconic New York. Yeah, greatest city in the world.
Good.
Yeah. This is Manhattan, New York, and this is iconic Times Square. We see this, I've seen it many times on TV, YouTube, etc. Those are like the displays, and yeah, these are the steps, and this is the iconic Times Square in Manhattan, New York. Manhattan now has all these high-rise buildings, so it's one of the most iconic places on the planet. So this is Manhattan, and this is the Times. Is on top of the Rockefeller Plaza, and it's in actually basically 3 levels. You can visit, and you can also come to the open space. Today, the environment, the weather was so fine. This is the set of buildings. Those are the Hudson Yards built on top of the railroad tracks. This is the iconic Empire State Building, and that's the One World Trade. It's the tallest in America at 1776 feet. Then you see the small, tiny Statue of Liberty. Then this is the MetLife building and the Chrysler building, and this is the JP Morgan building. So all iconic, kind of the Midtown and the downtown buildings. So this is spectacular Manhattan. Of the Rockefeller Plaza Center, it's called the Top of the Rock, and we see the spectacular Manhattan. These buildings. Its pictures of the trees are the lake in a sense, part the Belvedere Castle and so on. This landed buildings are building is impossible engineering actually. That's called the Billionaires Row. That's the George Washington Bridge, the most they say the most busiest bridge. And then the magic really starts from the down of the Manhattan. These super tall buildings, about 40 floors or above super tall buildings. And this is the JP Morgan Tower. They built it very recently. They said that the guide was explaining that they buy the air rights about the adjacent buildings, so the adjacent buildings can never rise up. And then the super tall buildings happen. It's $3 billion. That's like the MetLife, the Chrysler building. There is the Grand Central Plaza, which has the Central Hall and the atomic clock within. And this is the magical part of Manhattan, the high-rise district in the whole world. The Empire State Building, and the amazing built in 1931. That's the One World Trade Tower, the height of 541 meters. They said the height is 1776 feet, the year of American independence. And that's the Statue of Liberty, looking like a tiny thing. And this is the new Hudson Yards development. They built with $35 billion plus, and it was built on top of the railroad tracks, live railroad tracks, impossible engineering. So this is 35 billion, and that's the Hudson River, and this is the East River. You have the United Nations headquarters. So this is the most iconic place of the world, Manhattan, New York. Of the Rockefeller Plaza Center, it's called the Top of the Rock, and we see the spectacular Manhattan. These buildings. Its pictures of the trees are the lake in a sense, part the Belvedere Castle and so on. This landed buildings are building is impossible engineering actually. That's called the Billionaires Row. That's the George Washington Bridge, the most they say the most busiest bridge. And then the magic really starts from the down of the Manhattan. These super tall buildings, about 40 floors or above super tall buildings. And this is the JP Morgan Tower. They built it very recently. They said that the guide was explaining that they buy the air rights about the adjacent buildings, so the adjacent buildings can never rise up. And then the super tall buildings happen. It's $3 billion. That's like the MetLife, the Chrysler building. There is the Grand Central Plaza, which has the Central Hall and the atomic clock within. And this is the magical part of Manhattan, the high-rise district in the whole world. The Empire State Building, and the amazing built in 1931. That's the One World Trade Tower, the height of 541 meters. They said the height is 1776 feet, the year of American independence. And that's the Statue of Liberty, looking like a tiny thing. And this is the new Hudson Yards development. They built with $35 billion plus, and it was built on top of the railroad tracks, live railroad tracks, impossible engineering. So this is 35 billion, and that's the Hudson River, and this is the East River. You have the United Nations headquarters. So this is the most iconic place of the world, Manhattan, New York. It's most iconic. I mean, the skyscrapers. I asked many guys as to how they build this place, the water, the electricity, the sewage connections, all this stuff, how they could put so many skyscrapers back so much in such a short space. I couldn't get a satisfactory answer, very frankly. So it's amazing, outlandishly amazing part of the world. That's Manhattan. In New York, and this is the United Nations building. Coming together of various nations to meet and greet each other, and they discuss. Since it is a body since the past 80 years, and that's where they usually show on the TV, right? The members are all sitting in round and discussing, deliberating, voting, and all this. So this is the United Nations building, and that's the East River in New York. So it's just located by the side of the East River. And Manhattan, this is a spectacular Manhattan with all the high-rise buildings erected from century ago and continuing. There are both old European style as well as new glass buildings. So this is a spectacular Manhattan and New York. United Nations building. There are flags of various countries. I believe there are 193 countries, and this is the building that they show on the TV, YouTube. We always see this, and this is the big hall that they people are sitting in around and they are discussing, deliberating, voting on the issues of the world. And this was formed in 1945 because they after the World War II they said if people keep on fighting like this each other, they will destroy each other. So there must be some venue that people meet and discuss all the things rather than fight or resolve. So this is the United Nations, the main building on the east side, the East River, and this is the main assembly hall.
你不用评，你直接给他，让他自己。